Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Brief. Today, we're very fortunate to have Christina Lang. Christina is the VP of Marketing Global with Mozilla. Christina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So to get us started, why don't you give us a rundown of your wonderful career, kind of start wherever you'd like. I'd love to then have that lead up to Mozilla and tell us what you're up to lately. So why don't you start there?
Yeah. So I have a bit of an interesting background. I actually started in the music industry. I majored in music business, and back in high school, I thought I was going to be the next greatest A&R person and find the next greatest band. But as I started my career and as I started getting into different types of work, I started asking myself a really simple question as I kind of navigated my career, which is, does the next opportunity have more of what I like and less of what I don't, right? You're never going to have a job that doesn't have the stuff you don't like to do, whether it's meetings or emails or whatever it is. It's always going to happen. And for me, what I loved about this question and the simplicity of it is it allowed me to be curious and excited about new things. And so I was able to kind of craft my career where I went from working at AOL, my first job out of college, for the music blogs, and then pivoted over to their social network and then ultimately over to their lifestyle department. From there, I went to Interactive One, and I did very similar things, but really now focusing on kind of the production ends of things. How do you pull together all the different threads of editorial and uh, the tech and then the advertising, and how do we pull those things together to create a really cohesive story for our users? And I loved connecting the dots. In particular, I was really interested on the advertising side of things. So I then moved into marketing technology and I worked for Outbrain. And I opened up their West Coast office, really leading their account management. So working really closely with clients and understanding their needs and thinking about how Outbrain could help to solve those needs, especially with in the editorial space. It's like, how can they earn more money? They just need more money. We need to make sure that our writers are getting paid so that we have the best news possible. And then from there, I loved marketing. And so that was the point at which I was like, okay, I need to learn more about marketing. And so I went over to Facebook at the time. And I was the chief of staff for the integrity marketing department, which was really about, reputational marketing for Facebook. And I used my background in kind of operations and pulling different threads together, was what made me really suited to actually build systems and processes for that department to be able to function much more effectively. And then from there, did the same thing over at Twitch, which was really exciting, getting to kind of understand a different side, like a third-party marketplace was really interesting for me. I loved the idea that Twitch was making jobs for people all over the country that had never had this kind of opportunity. It felt like the beginnings of the creator world. And so I was really excited to be a part of that. It was definitely later, but I was really excited to kind of learn a lot more about that. And then I came over to Mozilla because I wanted to do some real good for the world. I think, when we're online, real life, it's the same thing. And I think that there's so many different uh, tools and tech that help make your life easier, but they're not necessarily the best thing for you or for your data, and they treat you like the product. And I was really excited to join a company that was at the heart of it is really ensuring that users have choice, that they understand where their data is going and how their data is being used. And so Mozilla and their flagship product, Firefox, was what really excited me to come over here. And it's kind of a legacy brand. So it's a marketer's dream to kind of come in and reinvent and see how we can't break through.
I love that. That's what a great journey. And it seems like all that adds up to the perfect, reason for being there, right?
Yeah.
To get to be in marketing, inviting the world to have a more secure experience online, and to reduce the pressure, even with Firefox Focus, right? The way that it helps you do that, right? It takes the
Hmm.
noise out of the equation. And ironically, I was in China last year and used your VPN, and like honestly was the only way to do things in certain areas.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Mozilla is definitely a brand that's widely known, but I feel like most people don't really know that much about it. They might know Firefox, and certainly that's the kind of product brand that they know best.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about that as you build this, marketing of this multidimensional company, like with seven, just in your group, seven kind of functional products, and then you've got ventures and all these other things in
Yeah.
the organization. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Mozilla is, like you mentioned, we've got a slew of companies. There's the foundation, which is our nonprofit arm. We've got ventures where we're investing in AI technologies to kind of shape the world of AI. We have our AI arm that's actually building that stuff, and then there's the corporation, which is the for-profit arm. That's really, you mentioned our products that we're building products for consumers. Um, and prosumers, and we've got a slew of tools for people. But I think that what's interesting is that from a consumer perspective, we're all one company, right? And I think the challenge that we have, and this is like, it's like a coordination challenge. How do we help to deliver messages that are able to break through, and we're not all saying different things and doing different things? And what's exciting about Mozilla is that because as a whole, we want to better the industry, right? It's not about being the biggest or the best. It's about bettering the industry and pushing all of our competitors on the corporation side to do better, to treat users with more respect and to treat their data with more respect. And that means that we end up in situations where we're working with one client on the corporation side, and on the foundation side, we're actually calling them out for something that's not working. And I think that that's a really special and unique opportunity that Mozilla has, and something, from a marketing perspective. What I really focus on is really thinking about Firefox and the opportunities that we have to introduce Firefox to a new audience. You mentioned like everybody kind of knows it. But I think that that's you and I that know it, because we were around when Firefox launched, and we were riding that wave of being the cool kids on Firefox. And so now we have an opportunity to introduce it to an entirely new audience, an audience that has, this is kind of what I say, which is that they don't really know what privacy is. They've been
Right.
online before they were born. Their parents put them online. A sonogram picture was already online before they were born. And
Yeah.
so, how do we talk to them in a way that connects with the world that they live in, right? It's not necessarily about like privacy, privacy, privacy. It's about choice. It's about giving them autonomy and having the ability to craft the experience that they want to have online, whether that be using their data to get really personalized advertising, or to block that, and that they don't want to share that information, and that they're just going to, they want to surf the web in kind of a more isolated environment. And so I find that challenge to be like super, super exciting. Is, opening up a new audience to something that's been beloved for years.
Well, you're right. I mean, I remember I worked at an agency years ago called Hal Riney and Partners in San Francisco. It was a
Mhm.
absolute fantastic experience in so many ways. Really a super strong creative agency. And I remember when I started using Firefox, and I was definitely, not to pat myself on the back, but I was one of the more like comfortable tech first
Mhm.
users.
Yeah.
And I remember the CEO at the time asking me, "So what are you using, Perk? What's your thing?" And I'm like, "You got to check this out. You got to like jump on board." And that began it bleeding through the office, like almost, right away as
Mhm.
people started using it, and hearing all the positive reactions was just phenomenal. And so when you like invite new people to use it today. Are you feeling like you get that same kind of reaction just in a new, fresh way?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we've been, Mozilla is we're smaller than the big guys, and so our budgets are smaller, and
Yeah.
it kind of allows us to do things in a different way. It also a lot of what me and the team are really focused on right now is thinking about how do we create kind of what you're talking about community around this product, right? Because that's at the core of what Firefox was. When Firefox came to be, it was built by a group of developers who just wanted to come together to build a window into the internet. And so for us, what's interesting is we get to go and actually be talking to people. Right, we're hosting coffee raves. We're going to be at TwitchCon this year, and so we actually get to go talk to people. And we've seen last year we were at a gaming event in Chicago, and we showed up in really interesting ways. We were talking a lot about privacy. So we were, in the bathroom, like on the bathroom stalls, being like, you definitely want to be private. And so Firefox is the answer to that. And people were excited. They were like really interested to see us there. We're showing up in ways that are different than they're used to interacting with brands. I think
Yeah.
brands tend to come in and be like, "Give us all your data, and I'll give you a, uh, smoothie or an ice cream at all of these events." And what we're really doing is showing up in a way that like connects with them on a level that makes sense to them. And so now we get to show up at like hip hop shows. We showed up at the Heroes Festival last weekend, which was really amazing in Germany. And so we were kind of the only people there that were excited about getting you to interact with our brand, interact with our product, but do it in a way that's like, you don't have to give us anything. We just want you exploring and understanding what we are. And you could see people were talking about it. And then they start to get interested and like, tell me more about the browser. Tell me about like I haven't used this yet, blah, blah, blah. And so there's a lot of that kind of engagement. It's nice to be able to get that one-on-one feedback right away.
That's fantastic, and I love those examples because 'cause they're really distinct places to show up that are authentic and you're giving, but you're also getting so much value out of it, right? Because 'Cause you're hearing firsthand. We often talk with, partners and friends that, the one of the most valuable KPI sets you can really try to affect is consumer-centric KPIs. If you want your commercial KPIs to improve, fix the consumer experience, like, make it rich,
Yeah.
constantly nurture it,
Hmm.
and doing those kinds of things is a great way to do that, and to take some lumps because 'cause I'm sure part of it is testing things that are like, "I don't know,"
Yep.
let's give it a try." Um, I saw recently that you brought the team together for 2026 planning,
Hmm.
and I want to commend you because not everybody does this. I think talking about it openly and publicly about the way that, first of all, being thoughtful about planning your, 2026 is 5 minutes from now, especially at the pace of change these days, right? But you're, are on the earlier side compared to most because
Yep.
many are thinking about that in November, which is like almost too late.
Hmm.
But you brought, a number of your agency partners together and your team members and actually gave them credit for bringing, the sense of collaboration and the spirit of creativity together. Any, any other things you'd care to share about what that meant to you? And I mean, the energy in the room, just the visuals you shared look really, really awesome. I was envious. I was like, oh, I long for those moments.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would care to share about what happened there? The
Yeah,
magic.
it's funny. I just keep thinking when you mentioned 2026 planning, I'm like, yeah, this is that weird part of the year where I already feel like we're in 2026, but we still have a lot of 2025 to go and a lot to
Right.
do. Um, but yeah, we had our first ever agency day. This was bringing together all of our agencies that focus on our Firefox product. So this is PR and creative and social and our media team and from across the world. So we even had our international agencies come as well. And what I was really excited about was being able to kind of brief the team together rather than doing this separately. Because the questions that the social team has or the questions that the media team has are relevant and important for everybody to know, right? And if we create our creative concept that we'll use next year, thinking of everybody together, and we do that together,
Mhm.
God, that's going to be just so incredibly powerful, which is,
Yeah.
I feel like how many times have you just been delivered that brief, right? Like, here's what we're doing. You have no choice in it. Find me a cool XYZ, whatever company you're at. And so that's what, for me, I was really excited to kind of get those folks in the room together. I think the other thing is that this is our team. I think a lot of people think about agencies as vendors, and like, let's just kick that over to the agency. We don't want to handle it. This is my team, right? My team includes our internal folks and our agencies. And I like to. A good friend of mine at one of the agencies. We She refers to her partners as her client partners, and I refer to my agencies as my agency partners, because they really are that. And that's like incredibly important to me. So we invest heavily in finding the right partner. I personally really like working with smaller independent organizations because I find that they're wanting to do the same thing we are, which is grow. And so we're all kind of hungry on the same level. Um, and Yeah, it was a really incredibly inspiring day. And I'm really, really excited to now, like, how do we recreate that and do like smaller ones once a quarter that's online where we're bringing everybody all together? And then how do we actually do that mid-year to shift and learn based on what we've learned in the first half of the year? And so, I don't know, I'm excited for what's next. There's lots to do.
So I love that, and, just seeing the energy in your eyes as you talk about it is fantastic. And I've been a part of a number of those over time, and especially global work. I've worked a
Mm,
lot in global, and when you get the team together, the bonding, the conversations, the way you start to finish each other's sentences in a way that you hadn't been able to. Um, so the podcast, this is all about beyond the brief.
mhm.
Try as you might, we always try and put it on the brief. We try and keep it brief. Like, it's called a brief, but it sometimes turns into a long.
I was just say they're mostly longs. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
right. But I mean, the number of times that the work that I'm most proud of land is effective because of something that wasn't on the brief,
Mhm.
but showed up later or showed up while we were working on it or came on the brief midterm. Um, that just seems like it's, obviously there's core elements that are definitely there, but sometimes the magic just shows up out of nowhere. Do you
Mm.
have any examples where you've like, you know, worked on something and worked in it and thought you had it, and then when you started getting into the actual, like, what we're going to do part of it, the execution level, that you found some other elements that really kind of were like, I see a better way here
Oh,
strategically to make this land?
yeah, interesting. So we first of all, like, I think everything I asked my team to kind of focus on is we think in what we call TLA fashion, right? Which is test, learn, adapt, right? So when we're delivering a brief, when we're putting stuff out there, we're saying, this is where we are right now, and this is the message we want to get across. And that's usually where we're pretty confident. But then there's all the supporting data and information around it that, like, we're going to learn the second that brief is shared with our partners. Um, and there's going to be more information coming in. So we hope that we're constantly building on top of each other, and we're taking what we learn in Germany, and we're seeing and poking at it in the US to see if they can, that type of activation, that channel, that opportunity can really flourish. Um, the thing that I never include in a brief, but I say to every single one of my partners, is give me something I have to say no to. So I am asking for our partners to push me beyond the point of comfort. I want them, they've got that outsider's perspective. They can come in and they can really candidly make me very uncomfortable. Um,
But
and that's exactly what I want, right? And then we either tone it down or it's actually perfect. And so I mentioned this before, but something that came out of that was, the bathroom activations, right? It was like, who shows up in a bathroom? Why would you wanna show up in a bathroom? But it's like, it makes so much sense. You absolutely wanna be private when you're in the bathroom, and we're talking about privacy, like, duh. But I don't think that any external partner, right? Somebody from the outside is going to feel comfortable if you aren't giving them that confidence. That's like, that's what I want. I want to
Yeah.
be able to say no to you. And now I have all of my partners are constantly coming. They're like the crazier. They come in with stuff that I'm just like, okay, guys, you definitely knew I had to say no to this, but like, great, tone it back. Let's find the right way in. Um, and, it's been, it makes it more fun too. Like, who wants to just look at the same boring activations over and over again?
Well, in a way, you kind of set yourself up to not compete against others that have the same kind of product, so to speak. You're competing against yourself
Yeah.
and the natural limits that most brands put on themselves. And isn't that fun? I mean, like, one of the things we talk a lot about is how um, all our senses as humans are analog.
Mm,
And if we're not tickling them all, we're just getting to RTBs, and
yes.
honestly, stop with the RTBs. Like, yes, I need those sometime, but
Yeah.
honestly, not first, not second,
Mhm.
maybe 8th or ninth. Can you just give me something to feel
Yeah.
something about? And even if that's uncomfortable, because I think that's okay, right? If you're the and another thing, and this is one of the things actually I learned at Riney, and I grew up in the Ogilvy system, and one of the things they
Mhm.
talked about was, and Ogilvy was famous for saying something to the effect of, don't do anything that you wouldn't want your mom to see, which I think is a reasonable filter,
Sure.
but at the same time, you know, if your mom might scold you a little bit, it's okay, right?
Mhm.
But the other part of it is, why lie when the truth will do? Right?
Mm.
And I think that a lot of times people run from the truth and use marketing, jazz hands, and other kind of tired tactics that get in the way of really brilliant ideas. You went to Cannes this year.
Mhm.
It was your first time, according to what you
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part, other than the exhaustion being your least favorite? What was like one of the things you had hoped for but wasn't there?
I appreciated the exhaustion. It meant that I like
Yeah.
succeeded. Um, I got the advice before going to Cannes that this was for those who haven't been there, it's a like incredibly overwhelming, inspiring environment to be in. You're just hit over the head with cool activations and cool new tech that's out there, and you're just like running at all of it, and it's amazing. But I got the advice to really just focus on making 5 incredible connections. And made way more than that. But that's the thing that was like most inspiring to me, is that like, how can we create a connection that, we're going to help each other in business, we're going to help each other personally, we're going to really push each other creatively. And so that was, for me, that was the biggest takeaway was those connections that I made. The other thing that I was really lucky to kind of hear about, because I don't think everybody gets to hear this side of Can, is so I went with my agency partner, Media Plus, and one of the Media Plus leaders was actually sitting on a jury. And so all was said and done and she got out of it, and so getting to hear about how the jury is run and like what that process is like and how thorough they are, it's very easy, I think, especially non-marketers, non-people that are like in advertising day to day and like love the idea of awards. Um, it's you forget about the fact that like this isn't just like a pay to play. You're just, trying to get a trophy. This is like really thorough, deep work that they are doing to judge the creative that they're viewing and the advertising that they're judging. And so it was really special to like be a part of to get a little behind the scenes on that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I've had the joy and absolute pleasure of judging the Effies a number of times, including
Mhm.
the finals, and I get so much out of it because the richness of the conversation around every entry in the room is fantastic, and it's really rewarding. Um, One of the things that's going on in the world today is, you guys are, you're out to reclaim the internet, right? Well, I love that, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that, and we're not going to go politics or anything, but one of the things that we face as humans is algorithms
Mm.
that are almost manufacturing, commercializing what you see.
Mhm.
And, so the journey through what you see and what you do and the way you create your persona and what data you do share is, complex. How are you helping people with those kinds of things?
Yeah. So we have a couple of different things. So the first is one, because we have such a strong community, we actually have, there's like lots of places for people to go to be amongst other Firefox users. And so this is places like Reddit, this is places like, um, uh, not Signal, Discord. Uh, and so we have lots of places for people to go. We also have like an incredible CX team who can help you they build content and information on how to set up your browser in a way that makes sense for you. Um, and I think that for me, as we're thinking about we've been, again, we're kind of exploring all these different types of grassroots and different community activations. It's about how we're entering a community and how we're helping them to really understand the challenges and why, you know, your browser choice is one of the most important things that you'll ever do. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize that, right? So it's just about really uh, giving them um, that spark to go and be curious and go and learn new things on their own, as well as giving them the tools in all of our blog posts and help centers and whatnot to be able to navigate themselves on the internet.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. And related to that, I also saw that you had a post recently that you were reflecting on a great piece that, and I'm a fan of Simon Sinek myself.
Mm,
And the quote I'll paraphrase here: "As AI takes more of the tactical load, our humanity as leaders becomes the differentiation that we all have to rely on."
mhm.
And I mean, it's really interesting, right? Because and it ties back as marketers, we have to be super aware of the almost caveman brain of the people we're working with, and then help them to, maintain their curiosity and that spark that's, what makes us uniquely human and uniquely individuals without getting in the way. And so there's a lot to do there, but tell us how that landed for you when you saw it and why you posted it, because that it really stood out to me.
Yeah. I've been you go through phases where you just get enamored by a certain topic. And for me, it's about how AI is going to influence the world. And right now I feel like I'm in my gathering lots of information stage. And so when I read that article by Simon Sinek, I the idea that we are going to replace a lot of things with AI, right? I can't predict exactly what level job or what information is going to actually move over to AI, but I know that that's coming, right? So that is coming. But the people who are behind all of those things are never going to go away. And you're right. We all have caveman brains. We all have, um, our crew likes to call it our lizard brains, our lizard
Yep.
fears, the things that come up that you don't even realize they're there. And so for me, as I think about leadership, it's just so important to understand the human behind the thing, right? I am a leader who I never consider myself the smartest person in the room. I don't lead in a way that is everybody is executing on my strategy and my plan. I fundamentally believe that the people around me and the teams that I build are smarter and stronger at what they do than I am. And so my role as a leader is to lift that up. And I can't lift that up if I don't know the people beyond, like underneath it. And I can't fight for in the same way. And I don't think that, um, it's, that's what I need, right? I want to feel like, for lack of a better way to describe it, like held and cared for as I'm doing really scary things, right?
Mhm.
Because if I feel that I am held and cared for, I will do really scary things. I will do
Yeah.
things that push the limits. I will do things that are outside of the box or make, organizations question, wait a second, should we be doing that? Like, is that the right move right now? But if I have the backing of my team, my leader, I just feel that much more empowered to do that kind of thing. And so it's incredibly important to me that we don't lose the humanity part of things. And I do think that, it's very easy to get caught up only in the data. It's
Yeah.
very, very easy. And we forget I forget. I do it too. Um, we forget that it's like we're ultimately talking to humans. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she's a marketer, but she's on the B2B side of things. And so we always have these like really interesting conversations about like how she would handle something versus how I would handle something. And we got like in kind of this heated argument. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but it was just we were coming at a problem so differently on either side. And ultimately, like we sat back and we're like, well, businesses are humans too. Like there are humans behind the business too. And there are, the consumer is a human and we need to kind of tap into that. We need to tap into the caveman, the lizard brain, it's not about the RTBs.
Yeah.
We want people to feel because that's how you make a decision. You don't make a
Yeah.
decision based on because I told you that this number is going to be great or this data point is interesting. You make a decision because your friends told you to do it and because you
Yeah.
want to be a part of the cool crowd. So yeah, that article really resonated with me a lot, and I think there's a lot of application that a lot of leaders need to read.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I like how Simon gives you a way to embrace an idea in a really
Yeah.
human way. The I like to say I need to figure out I don't know who to attribute this to, but somebody smarter than me said AI can't describe the feeling of sand between your toes.
Mm,
And to me, that's like a great example. Another one I heard that I liked as well was the spark you felt in your hand as you touched your first loved one's hand,
mm.
like that first time you touched, like in a way that was like, a loving, kind of embrace.
Or
To
wonder
me,
and curiosity. Like
yeah, right,
AI can't
exactly.
do that.
Right. And because if it relies on semiotics and data occurrences, it's just boxes, and ones and zeros, and even if it's, adding more than that, it's still, imagined, not real in the
Yeah.
way that we can relate to it. Um, do you have any routines, rituals, or environments that you rely on to kind of get in the zone and generate new ideas, or ways to stay inspired?
Yeah. Um, I if my team watches this, they're gonna laugh at me, but they all know I am a verbal processor. So I am notorious for doing a lot of like on the fly, hey, I got this idea. Like, let's hop on a quick Zoom and we just talk it out. So that's step one. Step two is I've never met a whiteboard I didn't love. And so I've got right next to me, I've got a huge whiteboard and I spend a lot of time just drawing and sketching and thinking things through. And then I think like where I do my most um, kind of creative work and like really deep thinking that is probably something, it's like a tiny little spark that then turns into something real, is I'm actually a journaler. So I will, I go to different places. Sometimes it's just on my couch and it's just a quiet moment for me. Sometimes I make a big to do of it and I go, I'm based in San Francisco right now, and I will go to Land's End and sit and watch a sunset. And it sounds cheesy, but there's just something really peaceful about writing things down to kind of find what's happening in your mind. Like I
Mm.
like to think about it as like I'm sifting through a lot of different things. Um, I joke that my journals are the one things that, like, I've got 4 or 5 people in my life who know that God forbid something happens to me, burn their journals because I look like a crazy person. So it's like, come burn the journals. Everything else is fine. I don't care what anybody else finds outside of that, but burn them because they're nonsense.
Excellent.
And so, but yeah, journaling is a big part of how I kind of work through things.
That's excellent. I think that's absolutely, it's the routine of it and having those touchstone places, I think is really important, and everybody does. As part of your journey, I mean, we all get advice along the way. What's some of the best advice you've ever received, and what's some of the worst?
Oh gosh.
You
The
don't have to name names.
I was say the worst ones come up so fast, so fast. Um, I think something, I don't know if it was like a piece of advice that I got, and uh, it's cheesy, but I am gonna talk about my mom for a little bit. My mother she was a working mom. She's an executive. She's incredibly impressive. So they were like big shoes to follow. Um, and she struggled a lot, with uh, finding a place as a woman in what is a man's world. She's in finance and accounting. Um, and what I saw her do, so it wasn't like advice, but what I saw her do was I saw her bring together other women and bond together and really think about how you can better each other, how you can push each other. And so I have several groups that I do this. The biggest one, I call them my board of directors. They are my people I go to, and we talk beyond the brief. I have my own personal brief, right? It's everything from life to family to work and to aspirations. And I bring updates and changes and things that are happening to my board, and my board pushes me in a way that um, really only friends can do, and only when you've created and invested in those relationships. So the best advice I think that I took out of what my mom taught me is surround yourself with incredible women, and
Mm,
kind of keep them close. And so that's been probably the most valuable piece for me.
that's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah. Bad advice, I don't know. There's a lot of it. I I don't know. They're all real bad. There's a lot of people who, and sometimes it's just my own bad advice, right?
Yeah.
It's that really terrible, nasty voice that you have in your own head that tells you not to do something or to not try. Or my big thing that I always say is, I'm really good at like being ahead, but like I'm not great. I have that little voice in my head that's like, if I'm already losing, it's like it's really hard for me to like, all right, we're gonna go do it now. Now I'm gonna go try and win.
Mhm.
Because I really just in my own head, I give myself the worst advice. It's like, why even try? That's gonna be hard. Who cares? Um, so yeah, so I'll blame me instead of all
I
the
love that.
difficult conversations that I've had across my career.
Incredibly honest of you. Talk about
Yeah,
transparency. There you go,
yeah.
people. That's it. That's awesome. And I like how the 2 connect in a way, right? Because I bet your journals have a lot of that internal dialogue in them,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Um,
And my
yeah,
board calls it out all the time, and so they will push me, ahead and make sure that I keep fighting, so
that's fantastic. Christina, we've talked a lot about a lot of different things. I want to pause and we talked a lot about Mozilla and all the, Firefox and a lot of the other stuff there. Is there anything specific you want to make sure our listeners hear about what's going on or what's coming up for the organization or the marketing team?
Yeah. Mozilla, we've been around for years and we exist to make the internet better. We really one something that I really love is that we are not entirely focused on maximizing our profit, right? We understand that there needs to be a balance, and there are going to be trade-offs, and Firefox gets to be the real alternative, to show up differently in a really commoditized space. And so, I mentioned this before, but your browser choice is one of the most important things that you do. And so the first thing that I would say is everybody really needs to think about their browser, right? Take that beat, take that moment, and don't just go with the default, right? You always have a default. But you're not, there's a reason why you buy name brand. Um, I don't know, pick a product, right? Name brand anything, right? And I think that we need to have that same level of thought as we're going into choosing a browser. I'm really excited for this year because we are going to be showing up lots of different places. I mentioned that we're going to be at TwitchCon in late October in San Diego. We'll be doing a really fun giveaway and a really fun activation there. So people should definitely look for us there. We've got a couple of coffee raves coming up. We're going to Chicago. We'll be in LA and Germany. Not sure that those might be in the past at this point. But yeah, we're really excited to show up at these places and show people that your browser choice matters, and have some fun while doing it.
That's great. Um, Christina, you're absolutely like a joy to talk to. We could go on for hours, and I love the way that you're so like just giving of all your thoughts and stuff. I so this next question is, I'd be interesting to see how you synthesize it down. So Hollywood just called, and they're going to do a biopic on you.
Okay.
What's the name of the film, or who's going to play you, or what's the plot or theme?
Oh goodness. Okay. Um, Okay, so I'm going to go back to how I've approached my career, right? I've approached it with curiosity and I've like really tried to find new things, and a lot of times that means that I have to be brave, I have to be confidently moving forward, even if I'm not exactly sure I know X, Y, and Z. I'm confident that I can figure those things out, right? So I think there'd be a movie called Things I Think I Know. And it's probably some form of like me wandering around, just being curious of things and just trying things. And it like just either happens to work or doesn't. And you're kind of like, how do you navigate life like that? Um, who would play me? Um, okay, I'm going to take the easy way out on this one. I have gotten, uh, all the time I get that I look like Lady Gaga, so we're gonna go with Lady Gaga.
Brilliant. I love that. That's brilliant. And that works nicely to the curiosity part, right? It fits all together really, really seamlessly.
Yeah.
I also feel like there'll be uh, another movie to come following that, because there's no way that'll fit in a 2 hour or 3 hour cinema moment. So there'll have to be that'll actually be the prequel to what comes next. And I look forward to having that conversation with you. Christina, for those that want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way to find you and connect?
LinkedIn is a great spot to connect, and show up at TwitchCon. We want to see everybody there, so it's going to be a really fun time.
Awesome. So consider yourself, everyone out there in listening land, consider yourself browser aware now. Be smart. Don't just take the default.
Yeah,
And we have Christina to thank for that. Christina, thank you so much for being with us on Beyond the Brief. And with that, we'll wrap another episode.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.